Ta-da! Now, it wouldn't be Vietnamese food without some banh mi, and not just any banh mi from scratch. So if you don't live near a Vietnamese bakery, this is your sign to make banh mi yourself. It's super easy, and all it needs is a little bit of patience. Honestly, this was a lot easier than I thought to make banh mi from scratch. It just takes a lot of patience because it takes about 2 hours. But the 2 hours, you're not really doing anything. You're just letting it rise. So growing up in Minnesota, there was barely any Vietnamese bakeries around, so we had to make a lot of things ourselves. And one thing that's easier to make than you think is homemade banh mi. And look how cute they are!
There's something about making banh mi at home that just hits different. On the outside, it looks like a simple sandwich, but once you get into it, there's a whole history behind every bite. And honestly, making it myself made me appreciate it way more. So quick history moment. Banh mi actually started during French colonial Vietnam when the French brought over baguettes. At first, it wasn't really for us. The bread was dense, expensive, and definitely not everyday Vietnamese food. But like always, Viet people find a way. Over time, bakers started adapting the bread to suit Vietnamese taste. Lighter, airier, crisp on the outside, but soft inside, and most importantly, affordable. That's when Saigon really took it and ran with it. Vendors started filling it with things we actually ate: pate, homemade mayo, pickled veggies, chili, herbs, grilled pork, basically giving the baguette a whole new Vietnamese identity. By the 1950s, banh mi became the street food we know now: cheap, fast, flavorful, and fresh. And after 1975, when Vietnamese families immigrated everywhere, especially California, banh mi followed. That's how you get all these iconic shops in Westminster and San Jose. We carried it with us and it became part of our story. Now fast forward to today, me in my kitchen, making my own banh mi because once you learn how easy it is, it's game over. I'm doing my favorite combo: a little pate, a good amount of mayo, pickled carrots, daikons, cucumbers, jalapeno, Thai basil, and cilantro, and I'm stacking it with jia. The thing I love most about banh mi is balance. It's never one note. You get the crunch from the bread, the savory meat, the richness of the pate and mayo, the brightness of the pickles, the heat of the jalapenos, and then the herbs that tie it all together. There's so much happening, but it all makes sense. And behind that balance is a whole cultural story. Vietnamese people took something foreign, adapted it, and turned it into something iconic. Affordable, bold, bright, and uniquely ours. Banh mi is literally Vietnamese creativity in food form. So yeah, homemade banh mi. A little French influence, a whole lot of Vietnamese flavor, and honestly, one of the easiest, most satisfying things you can make at home. It's more than a sandwich at this point, it's a piece of Vietnamese culture that we carried with us, and I love being able to recreate it at home. Every time I make it, it reminds me how resourceful and creative our culture is, turning something simple into something unforgettable. It's crunchy, messy, flavorful, and honestly, such a perfect example of how Vietnamese food always finds a way to be both humble and iconic.
I'm so hungry. Look how cute this little banh mi is. Cheers! Holy crap, that's good.